My camera has been recording very faithfully today. That's okay, because you don't have to hear everything, I think, anyway. We'll head to back to the river. So I've been talking about cults and magical thinking, how, magical thinking attends how a lot of people live and how they acculturate each other and their children to live and think and make up reality in their minds in a certain way. Because an interesting corollary of what I'm talking about is that everyone in the world, one way or the other, makes up reality in their own mind. Even if someone's telling you about reality, you still have to make it up in your own mind. Everything that you think and believe, you're responsible for having made it up in your own mind. If someone's telling you the truth, if they're lying, whatever you end up believing, you've made that up in your own mind. Your mind is a space where the world lives. Its beliefs, its claims, its lies, its deceit, its wars, its violence, its shock, all occupies your mind, right? Or it's written on your mind, or it certainly can enlighten your mind. It can affect your mind. It can affect how you use your mind, or if you use your mind, or whether you constrain using your mind to just, as I said, making up reality as you need it. And if people are making up realities that are not nourished with the proper conditions and the proper opportunity to make up reality toward knowledge, because if you're going to make up reality, you also have to acknowledge reality. I can't be in a rainstorm and be like, oh, it's sunny outside, and I'm on a beach, and I'm not getting wet, and pneumonia is just the same as getting a tan, right? And you would say that's delusional, right? So you have to notice reality and make up reality, like, oh, it's raining, but I'm going to say that the nature isn't trying to kill me. It's just telling me that it's time to go find a dry place, right? So I've made up a reality that fits with what I observe and with the reality my body needs, right? Still magical, but it fits, right? So if I write a book, and I have, and it's made up, but it fits with my observations of reality. So the great thing about fiction is not making up things that don't fit with reality, it's making up things that do, right? And that becomes a really good book, because even if it's fictional, it seems related to reality and what you can observe. The problem with the glut of material in literature and in the world and its various scientific, medical, and theatrical and military narratives, and how people mutter them to themselves and take them all on without retaining very many desires to find out and observe what types of events and what persuasive effects they've had on the true vellum of their mind how they've come to affect how you think today. So that the glut of all of this theater and literature, right, even if it seems like it resonates with reality, right, constantly pulls you out of reality. It only resonates like a TV show because it's disabled your judgment. Like Humpty Dumpty, you've fallen off the wall of your original judgment. That's why everyone in theater is always cross-gender, because they don't want you to use the power of your judgment, which is connected to your original gender, right? But your brain, you'll notice, regardless of how someone is dressed, is watching TV and picking out whether they look male or female. But if you examine some of them, they're really not quite all the way there. There are fractures in that facade. And you could only see that if on some level you're picking up that underneath their clothing and their plastic surgery and CGI, that they're really a man or they're a eunuch. A 40-year-old woman on TV could be an 18-year-old boy. And 18-year-old boys make good-looking older women if they're altered the right way, right? Not in every sense, not all the time. That doesn't mean that a good-looking 40-year-old woman on TV has to be an 18-year-old boy, but you can examine to see, even if they look like that could be the case, right? because it is a conceit of theater to present cross-gender people, men as women, women as men, and yeah, it happens enough that you could start to question almost everyone on TV because there's so much makeup on any character and they can do so many things surgically. Basically, anyone could be any sex. So sometimes what I've done is I just look at how they behave. And I'm like, do they behave like a man or do they behave like a woman? And you'll see that the behavior, such as you might in your own subjective world or bias, think what is a man's behavior, what is a woman's behavior, is almost interchangeable. You'll see women who behave more like men, men who behave more like women. And this exchange, while it might seem rather contemporary and liberal-minded, it actually introduces quite a fog to the mind, especially when most of these characters spend most of their time lying, right? There's all this diaphanous fog as to what people are and how they behave, to the point that you lose a sense of what is a man and what is a woman. A lot of people will grow up in the 21st century and don't think that a man or woman has to be anything, but it is to that hinged part of the mind, because we know, regardless of what you've been taught in any kind of gender studies course, or whether you're a transgender or a sexual isomorph or whatever you are, that the human brain, before it decides what sexual identity you are and what you think about other people's sexual identity, it will figure out instantly whether you're dealing with a man or a woman, whether you know it or not. Your eyes will go right to their hips, key areas. That's why they call it the Q angle, because that angle between the hips and the knees and how various characters walk when you see them on TV, they might be trying to cover up the Q angle, right? Right? Your brain may know that, but you don't sustain enough connection between your hindbrain and your forebrain to notice, to register as the infidelity. Your brain automatically covers it up and gives the TV show the benefit of the doubt. That's called suspension of disbelief. Now you're not operating in the rightful sphere of your mind, or spheres of your mind. You're operating in a new reality. And in that new reality, all kinds of other realities can be spun. And you can help spin those realities. So you become, creative watching the TV show, helping them to spin those realities in your mind. And you're spinning and spinning and spinning, and you go back in and out of hypnosis like a sinusoidal in and out of trance in this virtual world that can only satisfy your desires by becoming more and more absorbed in it and more identified with it and with every character in the film or TV show. Because fundamentally, it's an irritation to your mind. It's a shock to your mind. Theater is meant to be shocking. That's why at the beginning of a lot of TV shows and a lot of plays and a lot of movies, there's some kind of explosion or some kind of shocking event. Family sits at a table, everything seems normal. Then they storm the house and someone cuts off daddy's head, right? It starts with something shocking that jolts your subconscious and puts you into a trance, right? Or it lulls you into it. The movie starts with a plane and there's clouds and there's beautiful music. You're thinking, oh, a nice romantic comedy. Finally, no more explosions. But notice the little shocking events that are going to happen throughout the film. Start pausing it every time you think, in real life, this would be kind of creepy. Or this person's really kind of lying. But you like the character, they're sympathetic, and they're a good person. They're a good actress. And really, it's okay. Notice every time that happens, if you can. Right? So I've watched movies from the 80s, or tried to, and it's like, they're like pedophile snuff films, but they're put out like romantic comedies. Oops, just farted. I did a big crap at home. I'll probably do another crap when I get down here. Oh, looks very peaceful today. Yeah, so I lost about 20 minutes of recording today. Cameras get old. Okay, doing good. For a warm up here, yeah? Because I've been walking for. Okay, that's nice, easy one. Yeah, I can see those RCMP cars in my mind's eye. I saw one on a TV show last night, and then three of them, or three instances, I think one of them was the same one, just stalking someone or anyone in general, moving around. It's funny. You know, you ever just seen, like, watch where police officers drive and what they're doing? So one turned, went around this back road, came out, kept on going down the highway, then turned around and came back. What are they doing? You know, I think to myself. You know, they haven't got their lights on, looking for someone, stalking someone. Chances are that someone like me, right, who walks around, are they looking for a certain car, you know, and any number of things. I'm sure you would say, well, they're just doing their job, it's not your business, but it is my business. I've learned it's always my business. I don't like their business. I don't want to interfere with their business, but their business interferes with me. It interferes with my sense of rightness. So if you go through all your suspension of disbelief, you find that the police are ultimately some of the most threatening people in the world, and it is a cult, and cults are always dangerous, and they're the most dangerous cult in any community, without a doubt. And I never meet a person who's absolutely just can't think of the police as doing anything bad, who hasn't been sexually assaulted in their life, and or is so compatible with the magical thinking of police that, you know, they're practically friends with them. They could easily work in a police station. Something like I could never do. Right? If I walk into a police station and, you know, I don't feel safe, I don't feel comfortable, I feel like a criminal. I feel like, as far as most police are concerned, they would consider me a criminal. They would consider me one of those people, without a doubt. And, you know, I've interacted with some of them, you know, and you can see, like, where their minds go, right? In their magical thinking world where they make up reality, you know, they've already decided what kind of person I am. I've had them tell me this. I've had them tell my father and my family they think I'm a criminal. Just because I told them that, you know, that someone had assaulted me and I'd gone to hospital, which I had, and they thought that I was lying. They couldn't believe that had happened. They immediately erased it. They never took a record of it, never took a complaint, nothing. Right? They never will. Anytime I've talked to the police, they'll never believe a single fucking thing I say. Ever, ever, ever. Ever, ever, ever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if 3 big police officers gang rape me. No one will believe it. I'm not safe. They can do anything they want if I let them near me at all. If I ever let them near me, I don't want to be near them. I avoid them at all costs. I avoid any association with them, their families, anyone remotely connected with the police at all. I never want anything to do with them. They'll leave meth addicts alone, all kinds of predators alone. They won't leave me alone. Their morality doesn't extend to people who do or do not commit crimes or run guns. I knew a police officer who knows a young man who ran guns, runs drugs, and all kinds of things. He's never going to touch him because he's more like him. Right? They're like those people. They're part of a group. That same young man, his father is law enforcement. They're never going to touch him, ever in a million years. It's not about right and wrong. It's who's in the club and who's not in the club. And that's basically what cults come down to. It doesn't matter what you're serving. It's who's in the club, who's out of the club. A Christian doesn't, not all, but a lot of Christians, they don't care if you're a good person or a bad person. You know, hey, I don't care how good you are. I need to molest you because you're not in the club. Molestation is how you get into the club. Right? Jesus isn't even the Son of God. That's what makes it all work, you see. It's right there in black and white. But no Christian in billions of instructional hours in the Bible has ever seen those words. He never will. They might as well not even exist. God admits that Jesus is his bastard child. It doesn't belong to him. And how would it? God doesn't even have a penis. God is an imp. God is a Ken doll. Right? You know, people say that, you know, Barbie dolls aren't anatomically accurate, but they are. Right? Barbie has a vaginal area. Ken has a vaginal area. They're both essentially women. You see what they're doing to men? Right? Smooth as a Ken doll. Right? They even have children named Kendall, you know? It's all just programmed into us. We accept the death of male genitalia. The churches have big phallic steeples, not because men are dominant, because they're stealing the penis of men. And usually it's placed in the area where they have human sacrifice, which is what a wedding is, the sacrifice of the father who has no voice. That's why it's a total stranger who pronounces you man and wife, not you and your husband. You don't pronounce shit. Your voices don't mean shit, right? That's just formality. Hey, you love him? Oh yeah, I prepared this speech. And do you love her? Oh yeah, I prepared this speech. An oath of my undying love to my soulmate. And it's like, okay, you done with all your prattle? Because if I don't pronounce you man and wife, all that shit means nothing, right? They could have ministers who fart. It's like, when I fart, it'll mean you're really married. Love is true when feces comes out of my asshole. I have to short myself. You can make up anything, right, to pronounce people married. They could take off their pants and stand on the stage and shart into a child's mouth and say, now you're man and wife. What does it matter? It's not because of anything you've said, right? They could stand on one leg and start urinating on the family in the front row and say you're married. What the fuck does it matter? In your mind, you say that has a power for the fucking Justice of the Peace minister to pronounce you man and wife. They haven't done anything, and what they've done is not good, right? They've just stolen your voices from you, right? They're just stolen the sun out of the sky. You're like, dun 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 dun. Oh, it's all over, honey. We went through the ceremony. They're circumcising your love, and right in front of you. They're circumcising your voice. The minister should say, well, it needless to say, your voices mean nothing, your oaths mean nothing, but I now, as the minister, right? What a lucky person who stands in the center of the church at the altar, around all those people and all your family, and you pay him whatever, $500. All right, well, thanks for showing up, everyone. When I'm ready, I'm going to pronounce you married. Unless I do, I want everyone to remain in their seats. They have total control over all of you. They're sexual predators, right? They're raping you and generations of your children with a single word, pronounce. And the doctor pronounces you dead, and the coroner pronounces you dead, and the doctor diagnoses you and gives you a life sentence, and the judge gives you a life sentence, because it's all a court, it's all a stage, it's all a theater of magical thinking. And that's what's really killing you. Before the cancer gets you, the magical thinking gets you. And the only people I've met who were diagnosed with a terminal illness are still alive, who moved to a different geographical location away from their family and their spouses. I've met women who were in love with me, who would have sucked the life right out of me. And the violence that starts to happen, the more amorous they become, the violence around them. But just to know them is to call violence into your life. And they're just young, innocent females. But disintegration and storms of violence are all around them, because all their relationships are based on magical thinking and possession. Their friends possess them, their family possess them, their employer possesses them. They're all possessed. They're possessing each other. To work with them is to be intimate, to be intimately connected. No one is ever violent, but their entire world is a magical thinking that makes violence inevitable. It teaches people to play roles that are always compatible with the violence that is committed in their midst. Always, always, always. And it's because of why that magical thinking is there. Not just that it's magical. Magical thinking can be good, it can be bad. But in most sort of modern adult sense, the magical thinking of adults, which is basically just an industrial version of the magical thinking of children, which is being denied, as though it has died. It no longer exists in adult. It's just taking form of a personality complex, right? and the over-identification of the second chakra and the self with an obsessive adherence to various group, professional, social, and sexual associations. So marriage itself becomes like a trifecta of that process, and so people die from it unless they can keep up, right, with the performance-driven world of their magical thinking and its economic demands. So I can't say that people feel that good to me today, walking around. I've enjoyed the walk, but the people are shit. And it's usually the old white women that want to look at you. And let's pause here for a second. Ever since I brought that eagle feather home, also, it's been very good for my hand. The language people on the inside. I'm just gonna call my mom for a second. Oh, and mood. Is that ready? Oh, she's on another call. That's what it's. Okay, that's fine. Oh my goodness. I don't find white people very peaceful at all. I don't think they have peace. I don't think they have ground. I don't think in their inclination as yoga teachers, to joggers, to fat, to thin, to tall, to old, to young, have any grasp on what I would consider a grounded, um, um, appropriately oriented, if I may be forgiven for that stupendous arrogance, an appropriately oriented, an appropriately appointed way of using their emotional and physical and mental organs. And that they get sick and they make people sick throughout their lives. It's sickening. This town is sickening. So, hello.
Hi.
Hey, how you going?
I didn't hear the phone ring, so I must have just been.
Yeah, you were on the phone. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just sitting at the river. Thought I'd check in and
Yeah, everything's good.
yeah. Yeah, I walked into Rath Trevor. I'm just walking back now. I'm gonna go onto the island for an hour or so, and then I'll head home. So, same as yesterday, I guess.
Yeah.
Stretch my leg.
Nice day. I haven't
Yeah,
spent much time on sand yet, but
it's fairly good.
um,
Yeah, it's got to be at least 7 degrees out here for sure.
oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the river's going down a little bit. So, yeah, nothing to report, I guess. Yeah, just good gray and yeah, the beans are pretty good, so it's cool. But nothing does it like
Yeah, they're
beans.
still cooking, right?
And they're still cooking. Yeah, you'll smell them burning when they're done. They'll probably by tonight or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But no, they're perfect moisture content, so that's good. And
Mm.
yes, all right. I saw the police.
Right.
I saw the police looking for someone today. You can
Really?
tell when they're looking for someone. Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows what? I feel sorry for the poor bugger.
Well, there must be a reason. Now, it's not necessarily bad.
Well,
Maybe there's a reason.
I've had the police look for me for nothing more than a woman staring at me who doesn't like the look of me.
Oh, I
So,
know. I know. I know. And they probably know that too, but they have to respond. They have to.
well,
There's a phone call or anything. Everything is documented. So yeah, if there's a complaint,
they don't have to
you
do
got to
that for
go
me.
back.
They don't have to do that for me. So, in have to is a host of sins that in that word have to. But that's what we.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that's
people have
beside
to
the
do a
point.
lot of things. When people do anything bad, they have to do it. When people do anything good, they have to do it. Like the fact that you have to do
Yeah,
something doesn't make it
let's
right.
not go there. Let's
Yeah,
not go there because it's not important.
people don't have to do everything they do. They just feel like they do.
No, that's true. Okay.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. But
Anyway,
we'll talk to you later. It's good.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, that gives you a perfect example of what I said about my mom. My mom is a very police-friendly person. We've talked about police today. I've talked excessively in detail, and you get to hear an example of talking to someone about saying, "Hey, for no reason, a white woman can get the police to stalk me. Oh, well, they have to check it out, but they don't check out what I ask them to check out. They never check out things for me. I've come to the police with a dislocated shoulder by two people in my home with dislocated shoulder, and they say, "Oh, we think you're a criminal. We're not going to check that out." They don't check out everything. Right? They'll check out more a phone that I find to see if I stole it. Then they'll check out someone vandalizing my building and physically beating me to the ground. They don't check those things out. They don't give a fuck about people. In the course of making up their reality, whatever they have to make up, it doesn't account. It's not judicious. It makes no sense whatsoever. You can see a black woman at Harvard or Yale, and some white girl keeps complaining to the police, and one day she's just taking a little nap on the couch in the common room while working on a paper, and the police show up saying, someone said that you're a suspicious person, and you have to prove that you belong here. So she spends a half an hour talking to the police, trying to find out who she is to make sure she's allowed to be in a dorm room that she's paying thousands of dollars to be, and that her fucking ancestors helped to build. And the police are like, oh, it's our job, it's our job. The white girl get nothing. She just had to make a fucking phone call, and they're done. Right? White women are always trying to make people feel like they don't belong. They think they have it. So unfortunately, nothing against women, but they don't have the same inhibitions as men do. Women learn, or you might say in a feminist sense, because of oppression and misogyny, they do whatever they need to do to protect themselves and as a response to unfair living conditions and developmental and generational oppression. They become police officers. They get girls learn that they can get away with things. They do. Women can get away with a lot more than men can, all the time. No sooner does a woman say, I feel slightly uncomfortable about a man that was like 500 feet away from me, than the RCMP have to drive around looking for him to intimidate him, right? Because he probably doesn't live around here. It happens hundreds of times a day in North America. White women, generate a lot of money for the criminal justice system, right? A white woman is threatening to kill her husband, and the police won't investigate, say, and this happens because she's a woman, and they just make up a reality in their mind like, oh, no, that's not really a threat. It's not really a threat when your wife threatens to kill you. And guess what? She kills him. That police officer still has a job. So, and again, you would say, well, it's a difficult job and all these things. You can criticize the police, or you can criticize people, and you can criticize women, and you can find all these weird things around violence. If nothing else, you can learn about the weirdness of humans and how our brain works. You might say that a police officer never makes a bad call, except that it's just how the brain works. You can't get a human being not to be prejudiced, especially under stress. A police officer gets a call, barges into a room, sees 3 black men getting up under the table, and then 1 white girl in the corner. And it turns out, she was running from a fucking pedophile serial killer, and these black people got her, brought her there, and are trying to connect her with her parents. And the police officer comes in and shoots them. Right? These things happen because he just goes off. Someone said, I saw these 3 black men bring a little white girl, and I think they're going to kill her. And he comes in, draws his weapon, and say, hey, what the fuck you doing? And they, show strength and pride and a sense of like primeval threat. And he starts shooting and kills all of them. It happens all the time. Like, I just made that up, but that's what happens, right? And you'd say, well, the police officer was in a bad position. The person who called was paranoid. It's different ways that you could say, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, and it's nobody's fault. And we can't do anything to change it because at the end of the day, it's just the way the human brain is. The white woman's brain was this way, the police brain was this way, the black people's brain was this way, and then the little girl gets to see 3 people getting shot in front of her who actually just saved her life. Right? But it's good to have the police because, they're awesome. The policeman doesn't show up and go, well, maybe there's a good reason that these 3 black men are bringing this white girl into their apartment in full view of the public, not in a sack, not screaming, not doing anything, and just trying to, get her on her way so she can get home and keep her safe. Not, sensible of the delicacy of the situation. They don't want to be in command of this white girl. They make her a sandwich. They're not their parents, and they imagine this is a completely traumatic event for the child. The child may not like them. They're strangers. She could start crying. I mean, none of this is good, but it just was